I went ahead and logged into the encirca.pioneer.com website using the same credentials I used to log into the app. Using that username and password will unlock the ability for me to enter into the website and gain access to my paid services. If I'm a Nitrogen Pro level customer, I have the ability to be able to go into the yield component up here in the top banner and select My Yield. I'll also be able to see the other services that I'm enrolled with. The My Yield portion of the website is considered the starting point for all your fields. This is where you can go in and select individual fields, be able to view and enhance your decision zones. Encirca decision zones are the key management zone that defines the productivity and help informs the models that the Encirca services utilize to provide and predict recommendations for your fields. Not only do I have environmental response units, which are represented by the more smooth lines, I have also segmented those environmental response units, or those new soil layers, into areas of low, high, and average productivity. Red representing lower yield targets, green represent higher yield targets. Over here, I've got a chart that will allow me to be able to display the minimum yield for the field that has been set, as well as the field max. If I want to change this, I can change my overall yield target, click Apply, and my map will update. The distribution of my yield will also change. If I want to set a minimum yield target, I can enter in that number. I can also enter in a maximum, and I can use those to be able to apply and set my min and max yield targets. Again, defining yield targets by decision zones is a key aspect of informing the model for what we want to have for our prescriptive recommendations across all services, making sure all those services like nitrogen management, variable rate seeding, and fertility management are working together to reduce yield limiting factors. After I'm comfortable with the edits, I can go ahead and click Save to be able to save those productivity targets. If I want to change individual decision zones or view more details for that decision zone, I can do that here. There's a drop-down that will give me information regarding the National Commodity Crop Productivity Index, as well as the more informative Decision Zone Index. This Decision Zone Index is powered by the historical yield data that you have shared with DuPont Pioneer to help inform the regions of your field. I much prefer to use a Decision Zone Index than the National Commodity Crop Productivity Index, which is a very vague index to be able to give me some sort of relative scale of the productivity of the field. But if I want to change the individual yield targets for any given decision zone, I can click on that decision zone and change that value here and apply that change. If I wanted to switch away from my decision zone index, or I do not have historical yield data that I've shared with DuPont Pioneer to better inform the recommendations for my fields, I can use the National Crop Productivity Index. And here you can see there's a vast, stark difference between what that commodity crop productivity index is versus when I switch it back to use historical yield data to help further inform and predict what is going to happen on this field. The key to the Encirca decision zones is setting your yield targets, adjusting those yield targets to the areas as you see fit based on the knowledge and experience you have with the field, and then letting those yield targets sit. And then throughout the growing season, tracking and monitoring what's happening with your nitrogen management plan and your opportunities for success on your fields. Thank you for taking the time to learn more about how decision zones can empower the information to drive higher and more consistent yields.